Hello, and welcome to another episode of Dumb Talks. I'm your host, Dan Mitchem.
And today we're talking with my good buddy Jay. How's it going, Jay?
Doing well, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for letting me have you. That sounds dirty, but
Well, if we were in the same city, you know I'd let you have me.
Arrgh. So today we're talking about drumming because you are in fact a drummer.
Indeed, I am. Yeah. Yeah, drumming is pretty amazing. I've done it for, I was just thinking about this, I think 18 years now. Over 18 years, I've been a drummer. And it's my favorite thing out of everything I do in my life. It's my absolute favorite thing and has been for probably 18 years, So, yeah, I love drumming. Huge part of who I am.
So for people that don't know how old you are and everything, how old were you then when you started drumming?
So I guess I very first sat down with a drum set in front of me when I was like maybe 8 years old. My dad bought a drum set for me for Christmas. Didn't ask for it. He just decided I think he wanted a drum set, so he got it as a gift for me because he was a drummer. But I didn't really actually learn how to do anything on it other than just play around a little bit here and there until I was 14 is when I met a kid who played guitar. Tyrell Marbett at East Middle School. And he was like, "Oh, you got a drum set?
Shout
I got
out.
a guitar." Yeah, shout out. He's like, "I got a guitar. You got a drum set. Let's be a band." And so I asked my dad to actually show me how to play. And we were, we didn't know what we were doing, but we had a good time with it. And from there, it just sparked and grew. So I think I was about 14 when I really started playing and getting into it. And I'm 32 now, so 18 years later.
Nice. And you said your dad played the drums. Was he in a band or anything?
He played in a lot of different bands, I guess, before I was born. He never would tell me very much about them. I don't know. None of them were professional or anything. He played a lot for his churches when I was growing up. He got really into that scene.
I see. But you were in a band at one point, correct? Or are you still? I can't remember.
Yeah, well, I would describe myself as, I suppose, between bands at the moment. But that's not to say that there's not things on the horizon. Because my guitarist, Miles Bodmer, man, great dude, excellent guitarist. We had a really cool thing going. We had just played our first gig, and everybody who showed up said we did a good job. It felt really good. Funding got a little shaky, so he took a great job down in New Mexico, but he had to move to New Mexico. The other guys in the band were looking at, once we're allowed to be in a room together again, we'll start back up, which will be exciting. In between right now, but that band was called Intent Purpose. We put out one song. You can listen to it on all the streaming services.
Oh, nice.
I've also been doing this weird solo stuff right now, but it's more just mental health than it is exciting or good drumming for the most part.
Yeah. So your band is on hold because you guys are in different states and stuff like that. But I don't know if you've seen, there's a bunch of bands that are doing like a Zoom get together where they jam out and sing songs and then they record it and then they put it up on YouTube and stuff for people to watch. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, that seems like a really exciting prospect. I think it's something that's probably entered all of our heads, but it's one thing to think a thought, it's another thing to make it a reality, but that would be an exciting thing to do, and I think if we could all get the motivation to make it happen, it would be pretty great.
That's the first step, is the motivation.
Yeah, you're a creative. You know how hard it is to be motivated.
Oh yeah, you got to just light the fire under your ass every now and then. So, growing up and everything, did your dad teach you drums? Did you take lessons?
My dad, I don't know for sure because I don't remember the specifics. It was a long time ago. But he always used to joke that he gave me 2 lessons and then I just taught myself. But he gave me a handful of lessons in the beginning. He had no, let's say, formal music background. He was totally a self-taught drummer, and so he just kind of encouraged me to do the same. And so I just would listen. You start with AC/DC because you got the money beat, and it's an awesome place to start because it's a simple place to learn basic coordination on the sets. You start with an AC/DC, you play through Back in Black a few times, and then from there I got into punk, and I was into punk and emo stuff because I was a teenager in the 2000s, and
Hell yeah.
you just start playing along with stuff. You just listen to records you like, and I guess it was CDs I liked at that point or whatever. But you put on music you like, and you just listen along because drums are pretty intuitive. Once you know what all the sounds are, you can just listen to it and try to recreate it. But now, oh man, learning drums now would be so much easier.
Oh, I know. I play the guitar and keyboard and stuff. Yeah, growing up, I would kind of teach myself by ear. For me, it was easier on the keyboard than the guitar, but But yeah, then when YouTube was a thing, it was so easy. And even today, it's so easy. You just type in, how to play blank on guitar or keyboard, fill in the blank with whatever song, and bam, chances are there's someone teaching you.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I love it. And also as a source of inspiration, there's all these really phenomenal musicians out there and you get to watch them from their perspective often. Like drummers will post these cool videos where they post it from like a top down view. And it's just drummer porn. It's just totally for other drummers to go, "Oh man, that's what it looks like from my perspective." But I love it, and so just watching. I've learned. I have some friends now who are basketball coaches, and I've learned the value in athletics of if you want to be a great basketball player, you watch the other great basketball players and you just absorb them visually. And I think as a musician, you can do that as well. In addition to like videos that will literally teach you step by step how to do something, you can watch these professionals, these true greats at their skills, and just absorb them. And I think that that's also a huge benefit of the YouTube time that we live in now.
Yeah. I've seen you've put up some videos of you doing the drums and stuff like that. Have you thought about doing like a YouTube channel where you're just drumming along and whatnot, or even teaching drums online?
Yeah, I've actually putting a great deal of thought into that. It's a tricky thing because it's a whole new skill set that you have to learn. Like I feel like I spent a long time learning the drums and that's all I focused on. But then in an effort in my life to make it a more, a bigger part of my life, more of a maybe a professional part of my life, I learned all these new skills with recording, and I've learned how to get a really good high quality drum sound out of my set. So now there's this additional skill that I
Yeah.
need to learn, which is all right, sit down and record a video and then edit it. And it's not that that's particularly difficult. Like we said, there's all these great YouTube sources on it, and you can learn how to do it. And I even have the software to do it. Finding the motivation is always the difficult thing. But yeah, that's something I've thought a lot about, and I'm kind of working towards. That's one of the things I've been setting my sights on is what am I doing musically? Well, I want to focus on drumming, and I want to be able to share what I'm doing drumming wise with people. And I think I'd like to do something along the lines of here's interesting beats and strange time signatures, because that's something that I really enjoy doing personally, and you really got to love it. If you're going to produce something quality, you got to love what you're doing. So yeah, that's definitely a goal I'm working towards.
Well, great. You'll have to let me know when that's a thing and we can talk about it.
Yeah, that'll be excellent. I look forward to it.
How often are you on your drums in your free time?
Oh, you know what, Dan? Everybody's a drummer. You know why? Because everything around you is a drum set.
Have you watched that Auntie Donna show on Netflix?
No, I've not. What is this about?
I'm going to send you the trailer for it because the first episode they sing a song called Everything is a Drum.
Oh. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And that's easy when you can drum on anything. But your drum set, how many hours a week or so would you say you're on that thing?
Oh, it's an insane amount. I have a bit of an obsessive personality. I have a small number of things that I do in my life, but I do each of them a lot. And so I play my drums, I'd say on average, an hour every day. Sometimes that's 15 minutes when I don't have a lot of time. I take days off here and there. But sometimes that's as much as like 2 hours. I find about 2 hours I'm completely exhausted.
Yeah.
I just can't do it anymore. But it's a wonderful cardio workout when you do it the way I do, which is probably the wrong way. I see these, drummers on YouTube that use their fingers for everything, and I'm like, wow, that's cool. You barely have to move your muscles, but it's like a full body workout for me.
Yeah.
But another thing about it though, when I sit down to do it, is that it's also almost like a meditation. I tell people this a lot, like if you're having a stressful day or a stressful week or whatever it is, and you sit down with music, the rest of the world kind of disappears. Like the world ends at my drum set. I don't have to worry about anything else. I don't have to think about anything else. I just get to be engaged with like the rhythm and the feeling of it, and I really like that as well. The kind of mental state of being behind the drum set. Do you get similar feelings from guitar or your keys?
Kind of. I feel like drumming would be a little bit better because you're literally beating the shit out of stuff. So I mean, I feel like that would get rid of some aggression and release some tension.
Yes.
When I was doing the Halloween haunts down in California and stuff, that is a wonderful A workout because you're running around like a crazy person trying to pretend kill people. And B, it was such a good way to release tension and stress and stuff like that because you're just screaming in people's faces, you're running around and stuff like that. So I would imagine drumming would be kind of similar because you're just going really fast, and just beating the shit out of them drums.
Yeah, you're spot on. And I think, everybody needs that in their life, right? Everybody needs, whether it's sitting behind a drum set or like chasing people around trying to kill them. I think, well, not literally, but, I think everybody needs that in their life.
Especially if you're like me and you don't drink coffee, you got to find other means.
Yeah.
But so you've been playing for almost 2 decades on drums. What kind of things, I guess, do you still learn on drums?
I'm pretty bad lately about learning new things. Well, that's not entirely true. That's not entirely true. I shouldn't say that. 2020, I really focused on my left foot. I'm a very asymmetric drummer. My right arm does most of the work. My left arm's kind of like the creative one, and then my the right leg's another is. I guess the right leg's the powerhouse, but I focused on my left leg and I focused on double bass drumming because I love metal, and most of the bands I play in are metal bands. But I've never been a double kick drummer. I did it when I was younger, and then I got out of it. And for years and years and years, my double kick pedal was sitting in the closet, and I never used it. So 2020, I really just focused on my left leg.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about drums is there's always something new to learn. Well, I guess this is true for any skill or musical talent or whatever you want to call it. There's an infinite room for infinite improvement. I'm gonna attribute that quote to Billy Reimer. I don't know if it's really him or not, but he's a wonderful drummer, and I heard that he said that once. Because you could get into just like a new style of music. Like, oh, I've never played Latin music before. Cool, I'm going to check that out. I'm terrible with jazz. Like, it's not a music variety I enjoy very much. It's just not for me. But it limits me as a drummer because some of the jazz drummers out there are the greatest drummers on earth. So I've been doing a little bit like with swing beats. And I'm not a jazz drummer by any means, but I've been learning swing beats over the last year. Because like I said, there's things that I focused on that I'm really good at, like weird time signatures. You want to play an 11/8, I'm your guy. But if you want a cool jazz thing, even like a simple jazz band would fire me in a heartbeat because that's just not what I do. Not yet anyway.
I'm left-handed, so sometimes I cross my arms, which is funny. I cross my arms when I'm pretend drumming, which is kind of stupid. But isn't that a bad habit to get into, crossing your arms when you're drumming?
Now that I think back on it, now that you brought up this point, I did actually get 2 drum lessons when I was younger. I got drum lessons when I was older, but when I was very first starting, I did get 2 drum lessons. And I remember I was really frustrated as a right-handed person because my drum instructor said we should never cross our arms. I think that's nonsense. I think that another really great thing about drumming in the drum set is there's kind of the standard way it's set up, but there's no reason you can't set it up some crazy way that works for you. So if you want to cross your arms because that's what works, do that. If you want to play open-handed and never cross your arms, do that. When I was young, I really resisted, and I said, I'm going to cross my arms because my right arm, I'm right-handed. But now I've learned a lot more limb independence, and I work my left arm a lot more. And so I can actually do a lot more open-handed playing, and it opens up new opportunities. You got to do what's comfortable and what's right, but you also always have to be pushing your boundaries and learning new things, I think, as a drummer. So no, cross your arms. And if you want to, especially if you're air drumming and you want to look like the drummer on stage, heck yeah, cross your arms. Why not?
There you go. Now, give me a quick lesson, if you will, in terms of how do you teach yourself to do one rhythm on your foot, one rhythm on your left hand, and a third rhythm on your right hand?
Yeah. I love the way you phrase that question. It's so much better than how do you get your limbs to do different things? The key is getting them to work together. So when you very first start out, it depends on how you start out. But if you start out the way I start out and you go, okay, I want to be a rock drummer, I'm going to listen to AC/DC. The first thing you learn is that your right hand or your dominant hand, so if you're left-handed, use your left, that's fine, is just kind of counting to 4 or counting to 8 if you want to really think about it, like And so if you just sit there and keep the right hand going and it's just going and going and going, you put the kick on 1, you put the snare on 3, and then you just count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Kick, snare, kick, snare. And it's not about the fact that your limbs are doing different things.
Okay.
It's that your limbs are all working together to do one thing. And I think the same is true when I was a teenager. I learned about polyrhythms at this African drum class. Oh, I'm going to forget the guy that taught it now. I think his name was Michael. He lives in Butte, Montana. Amazing drummer. But he showed us how you could play triplets on one hand and eighth notes on the other hand. But when you hear it and you break it down like mathematically as a fraction, there's a certain space where the triplet lives in between the eighth notes. And you can find that space. And it's not that the two hands are working different things. They're working together to create that polyrhythm of the triplet and the eighth note together. And I know that might sound overly complicated, but it's a lot about feeling and just having your whole body work as one, even though it seems like they're doing different things.
Well, cool. Thank you for the free lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do a simpler version of that. It'll be much slower on my YouTube channel.
Well, and there you go. Now that people have the first lesson for free, they can subscribe to your channel and pay to get future lessons in drumming by none other than our good buddy Jay.
Yeah, look forward to that.
Now, have you ever, I know it's completely different, but have you ever tried steel drums?
Oh my goodness, no. I never have because I don't think I've ever been in front of one. Maybe, but not any time in recent memory. I would love to though. Lately, I own a synthesizer and I've been learning more about, making more melodic sounds, and I think that would be really fun. I played with like those weird, you go into music shops and they always have these weird instruments like made out of wood that are like percussion instruments, and they make all kinds of cool different melodic sounds. And I've stood behind those for probably longer than the music store employees would like me to stand there. But I've stood around those kind of instruments a lot and just played on them. And they're wonderfully fun to come up with interesting sounds. I approach them as a drummer, not that I'm making melodies, more that I'm just making like melodic rhythms. But I do enjoy those sorts of instruments a lot.
Yeah. So growing up, what were some of the bands that inspired you?
Oh wow.
In terms of like cool drummers and stuff, I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I was like 8 and the drum set first arrived at the house, I know my dad. We were listening to this album, "Roll the Bones" by Rush, and Neil Peart, is of course one of the all time greats of drumming. May he rest in peace. And that album, I think that was the first time I ever paid attention to the drums because it's like, oh, this is a drum set. What am I listening to? Where are the drums in the song? So Neil Peart and that album "Roll the Bones" in particular definitely was an early inspiration. When I actually started playing the drums, the first album that I ever tried to drum along to and really like learn all the songs on it was "Artist in the Ambulance" by Thrice. And the drummer of that band is Riley Breckenridge. And I think he also writes some of their guitar parts, which is pretty cool. That album was so cool because it was really heavy and driving. I think all the guitars were in like drop C. And the drums were cool. Like he had kind of he had a sound, and I liked that. I liked that there was a consistency to the album, so I could learn one song and it helped me learn another song. And it helped me learn about how bands build their sound as well. And so yeah, that album, and then they put out another album right after that, Fi Hissu, that he just grew so much as a drummer, and then I got exposed to those interesting time signatures there, which got me led down a crazy path of playing in weird time signatures. But that's where it all started was with him. But oh my gosh, so many great drummers through the years. But yeah, he was a big one.
Very nice.
Travis Barker, the dude was just so fast. It was like, I didn't know how anybody could play that fast. It was amazing. And Green Day, I think you mentioned Green Day at some point, but yeah, Trey Cool, yeah, so great. Because it was all that punk stuff. Because punk stuff was like, hey, you can play something simple and still make something really cool, really fun, and music that's gonna reach people. It's all about that idea, and I thought that's where I got into it. People like that.
You kind of mentioned it a little bit real quick. Can you tune a drum set in the same way that you would a guitar? Meaning, like, can you like raise or lower octaves on the drum set, or are you more tuning a drum set to be in tune, so it's not flat or sharp or whatever?
Yeah. So there is a lot of flexibility in how a drum set is tuned. So when you think about a drum set, there's like there's two main components. You've got the wood part, the drums themselves, the shells, and then you've got the cymbals, the metal parts. So the cymbals, you can't tune a cymbal, but you buy different cymbals, and they are different pitches and different qualities of sound. But the drums themselves, they got plastic heads on the top and bottom, and you can tighten them to make them higher pitched, loosen them. There's one drummer whose name eludes me right now. He was Frank Zappa's drummer, who actually has this incredibly huge drum set. I don't know, he's got like 24 tom-toms or something, and they're all tuned two notes, like you would say, like this drum's a C, this one's a C sharp, and he has chromatic toms and he plays melodies on them, which is pretty darn cool. I don't tune my drums to particular notes. I just tune them to where they sound good to me.
Yeah.
And that's all about preference. You could listen to different styles of music, tune their drums in different ways. And even within styles, some people just like a certain sound. I like a particular snare sound, so I own a particular snare and I tune it very high pitched. Other people would want a really, a totally different snare sound, a really washy, dry snare sound. And it's just about what you're playing, the musical style, and what your preference is. But yeah, there's an incredible variety to how you would tune a drum set.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. How good are you at Rock Band on the drums?
I do okay. If I know the song, I do well. If I don't know the song, I don't do quite as well if it's like a particularly fast song, because I'm not used to those lights coming at me. But yeah, Rock Band is surprisingly realistic. It's as far as drums go. I don't know about any of the other instruments. I would say probably not.
Definitely not the guitar.
The guitar on Rock Band is actually probably more like drumming.
I just wanted to pick up a real guitar and be like, okay, where's the green button? I don't see it anywhere. I just see strings.
You'd only ever play on 5 frets, and you'd have to paint them. Oh boy, yeah. But as far as drumming, absolutely. If you've got a Rock Band sitting around your house, you can probably learn how to drum on that. That's awesome. That's such a cool thing. And I've seen people. I think you can even hook up like an electronic drum set to it, which is neat.
Can you do any of the songs on Rock Band on like expert mode?
Oh yeah, I don't. It's been a long time since I played Rock Band. I probably haven't played it since I was in college or just out of college. But I remember there was some AFI songs on there, and I was so into AFI in high school. That album, Sing the Sorrow, was like, it just got to me as like the emo boy I was. And so that album, I remember there's a few songs off that album on there, and there's some Rise Against songs off of either Siren Song or whatever the other one was that just came out right around this time. And I remember I could do the Rise Against songs on expert mode, which there was another drummer in the house one time, and the dude was totally blown away because I could do it. And he's like, "How do you do that with your foot?" And I was like, "I don't know." I started out doing doubles on my foot. It was like the first thing I ever learned how to do, But yeah, I know I can do the Rise Against and the AFI ones. I'd have to look at the song list, Since I have this studio set up in my house now, I often do my own version of Rock Band where I just have a playlist of my favorite songs to drum along to. And then I just have really high quality headphones where I can put them on and drum along and hear my drum set too. So if there's any songs on that list that are on Rock Band, I could probably play those on expert mode.
Nice. I went to a party once, and they had Rock Band, and we were all playing. One friend is on drums. A female friend of mine is singing. I think I'm doing guitar. And she picked Through the Fire and Flames by Dragon Force. She belted it out like I've never heard anyone do before. And the guy on drums I thought he was going to destroy the whole set. It was amazing.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. How did you do? I feel like they're such a guitar-driven band.
Well, I had it on normal, so I was pretty good, but yeah, I wasn't going to mess with expert mode on that song. So, moving forward, you said you were thinking about doing some lessons, a YouTube channel where you're teaching people.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're going to get back with the band. Are there any other goals you have moving forward with just drumming in general?
Yeah. Well, my overall goal is always to get the opportunity to perform. And so kind of I did a lot of reflecting with the new year and looking at what I want to do moving forward. And with drumming being my first passion, I would love to also, if anybody's like, looking for a drummer, to do some studio work. I can record and send them stuff. I do some stuff like that with some of my friends. Some of my friends that record music in other bands in other places around the country. And, I'm hoping to maybe do a little more of that, or maybe even do something like, once we get to have live shows again, maybe do like, summer touring opportunities where I could be a hired gun sort of for other bands. But that all comes with building up a resume and, getting
Yeah.
some videos out there and some YouTube content to show them what I'm capable of. So, it all works together. But yeah, I'd love to get any opportunity to play is an opportunity that I'm excited for. So whatever it is, I'm doing some music for my buddy's podcast, another buddy's podcast right now, and that's exciting. Anything I can do with drums, I'm excited to do.
And how can people get a hold of you if they would like you to work on a project with them?
Ooh, yeah, I should do that. Gotta promote myself. You can Instagram. I like Instagram.
Got to plug your shit, boy.
Yeah, Instagram's pretty great. You can. I'm J Gray Drums. That's GRAY J Gray Drums on Instagram. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me. So you can check that out. You can also check out Intent and Purpose's stuff on wherever you stream music if you want to give a listen to something I played on.
Sounds great. Is there anything else you would like to add into this episode?
Dan, I think you were doing a fantastic job, and I love your podcast. I had a lot of fun today. You let me be very self-indulgent, which is super exciting. And I just want and all your listeners to know that this is a great thing you're doing, and I hope that it continues to grow and do well because this is fun. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, but I meant to plug your own stuff. You didn't have to plug my podcast.
Oh!
Although I will not turn it down.
You know what? I got this solo project. It's like it's a total mental health side project thing that I do where I make weird synthesizer music. December, I just put out a new EP called Worry. It's called Brute Neighbors. You can follow us on Instagram at Brute Neighbors, but more importantly, you can listen to that music wherever you stream music. Check out Brute Neighbors.
Awesome. Well, Jay, it's always a pleasure talking with you, and thank you for educating us on the drums.
Absolutely, Dan. Thank you so much for having me. This is super fun.
And that's D.U.M Talks. Thanks again for listening. Be sure to subscribe at the bottom for future episodes. Who knows? Maybe I'll be talking with you next.